Welcome back! This is the second video in our DIY power supply series. In the last video we gathered components and built the schematic. Today we'll design the PCB, then solder, assemble and do a little testing at the end. Let's dive in. First, click open PCB editor. This is where we design our circuits. You'll see an empty canvas. Hit update PCB to import our parts from schematic. I want to give you a quick tip. Go to File, Print, select only the one of the copper layers, then export as PDF. If you print that PDF and place your real components on it, you can confirm footprints before ordering the PCB. Before we start designing our PCB, we need to set our design rules. Thanks to our sponsor PCBWay, we'll use their recommended clearances, trace widths and via sizes. You can grab their rules from PCBWay's website or copy mine directly. Okay, now first I set the grid from here. I'm choosing a large value because I'm going to draw the outline of our PCB. Then I select the edge cuts layer and use this line tool to draw a 100mm by 76mm board. How do I know all of our components will fit? Because I pre-drew this board before filming to save time. You don't have to draw the board outline right away, you can always do it last. I draw the board outline with nice rounded corners. Then add a silk screen box to reserve space for the heatsinks. Next, I start placing parts, but I'm not just throwing them randomly. I'm already thinking about how our eventual case will fit, or else designing a compatible enclosure becomes a nightmare. Also, don't forget the mounting holes. Mine go in each corner of the PCB. I am also spacing electrolytic capacitors away from the regulators, since heat kills capacitor life. Film caps though can sit closer. I just noticed that our potentiometer footprint has 3 pads, but we only need 2. I jump back to the schematic, swap in a 2-pin footprint, then update PCB again to sync. After placing all the film capacitors, I start placing the 10 microfarad electrolytic capacitors close to output terminals, away from the regulators. After placing all of our components, I'm carefully aligning them so they'll look good. Okay, now our component placement is done. We can press Alt+3 to view 3D render of our PCB, and it's already looking amazing. Now let's start routing the traces. I start by creating a ground plane on both sides. Select Add Field Zone, choose ground on both layers, drag around the board, then press B to fill, and you can press Ctrl+B to clear the field zone. Now for the power traces, keep them as short and thick as possible. Those little blue lines show connections, just follow along. Since our PCB is double-sided, top traces are red, bottom are blue. To switch layers mid-trace, press dash on your keyboard. I have bound it to a mouse button for quick access. For high current paths, I use larger and multiple vias. After I complete the drawing traces, I add some stitching vias to connect both sides of the ground plane. Once routing is complete, I unfill the rectangles for a cleaner look. Add silk screen labels to mark connectors and drop in our channel logo. Looks super cool. Finally, run a DRC check. My only warnings are overlapping silk screens, which won't hurt functionally. To finish, let's generate Gerber files. First, let's click File, Fabrication Output, Gerbers, choose your output folder, then generate drill files, then Gerber files, zip everything up, and we are ready to upload to PCBWay. Okay, now I go to PCBWay's website and click Code Now. After that, I upload our Gerber file here. And as you can see, our PCB is perfectly loaded. I'm selecting 10 PCBs for $5. Then choosing a black solder mask. And that's it. I click Save to Card, complete the payment, And after a while, here are our PCBs. Let's open them up. As you can see, they are looking pretty good. Now let's get into soldering. First, turn on your soldering iron and get ready to start. You can use a fume extractor like this if you don't want to inhale soldering fumes. I am starting with the shortest components, like film capacitors. Otherwise, after we solder the regulators, they'll be hard to reach. Soldering is simple. First, heat up the pad a little, then apply some solder. You can see fume extractor picking up all the smoke. That's why it's important to have one. Also, make sure to clean the tip of your soldering iron now and then. And don't forget to cut the extra leads of the components with some side cutters. Just like that, I'm soldering the rest of the components too. Just be careful about the polarity of the bridge rectifier and the electrolytic capacitors. And here it is, we are done with soldering. But as you can see, we got some solder paste residue. So let's clean it up using some isopropyl alcohol and a clean toothbrush. Make sure to clean the toothbrush occasionally too. And just like that, as you can see, the PCB is shining like a mirror, super clean. And not just clean, it's also looking super handsome. Now let's move on to the case I designed. Here's our case. It has 4 parts: the main body, the ventilation grid, the fan cover, and the lid. Those small clips on the lid didn't work exactly as I intended, but at the end of the day we can always just glue it to the case. I also printed 4 little feet to keep the case stable. I designed this case using SolidWorks. Since it's a 3D printed case, I was really cautious while designing it to make sure it's both strong and affordable to print. I'll be sharing the step files along with the PCB files, so you can modify it freely. Make sure to check the description. Now let's get into assembling the case. First, I'm starting by assembling the ventilation grid using 4 10mm M3 bolts and nuts, and then mounting the fan and fan cover with 4 20mm M3 bolts and nuts. Now let's continue by assembling the power inlet and the switches. In my case, the holes were a little too tight, so it was hard to install them. But don't worry, I fixed it and updated the files I'm sharing with you. Okay, I broke the case trying to force them in, but hey, there's nothing in this world a bit of hot glue can't fix. The power inlet and the transformer sit very close together, so I wrapped the transformer side with electrical tape to protect against any short circuits. After that, I soldered the power inlet to our on-off switch. Now let's solder the fan switch wires. First, I'm assembling the connector pins onto the wires. I'm using pliers, but you are better off using a real crimping tool. After that, I twist the wires and solder them directly to the switch. Next, I'm installing the female banana jacks. They are super easy to install. Just make sure to screw the nuts on tightly. And just like that, all of our jacks are installed. Now I'm soldering the potentiometer. Just like the fan on-off switch, it uses the same type of connector. After that, I use the same connector type again on the volt ammeter cable. Then install the volt amp meter into the case. Now I temporarily place the transformer and the PCB just to measure the wire length. After that, I crimp connectors to the one end of the wires. But before soldering them to the transformer, I decide to bolt everything into place. For that, I pass bolts through the feet, screw them to the case, and then mount the transformer and PCB. Once everything is in place, I solder the wires to the transformer, connect all the connectors to the PCB, then solder the 220 volt input wires and power it on. As you can see, nothing exploded and the fan started spinning, which is always a good sign. But the voltage reading is off. That's because we connected the reference ground wire of the voltmeter to ground instead of -12 volts, which is the output of the LM317. We can fix this by simply cutting and moving the black wire to this terminal. Now let's connect the regulator outputs to the banana jacks. I'm using nice thick cables with O-ring crimp terminals on the one end and N-terminal connectors on the other. You don't have to go this far, but I think it really levels up the wiring. After crimping all the N-terminals, I screw them in place, measure the wire lengths, and crimp the O-ring terminals, which looks super cool in my opinion. At this point, I didn't realize it yet, but we made a big mistake. We connected the ammeter on the high side instead of the low side. You can see on the screen how it should be connected. This mistake actually cost me an LM317, which I had to replace off camera. Here is what it looks like after I fix it. And I gotta admit, the power supply wiring is looking awesome now. Now let's move on to testing. I check all the connections with my multimeter and they are spot on. The voltmeter is also working properly. With no load connected, the voltage can go up to 28 volts. Let's connect the load. I'm using a 22 ohm resistor. I connect it to the power supply with some crocodile clips. And as I increase the voltage, the current goes up too. It maxes out at around 23.3 volts and 1.1 amps. And if you ask me, we absolutely nailed this project. Of course, there are still things we can improve, like the 220 volt wiring and making a stronger case. But for now, this is pretty solid. Maybe in the future, we'll build an even better one. Who knows? Alright, that's it for this video guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So make sure to like and subscribe and see you later in other videos.